All right, so why don't we move on to a question that is all around engagement and retaining employees, especially being in Silicon Valley. We all hear the stories about how hard it is to attract and retain top talent, but I'm sure that, at least I'm finding that this is something that's not just happening in the Bay Area, but all over the world. So you guys are all leading these global organizations. You're all thinking about how to keep employees, how to retain them. How do you actually do it? And have you genuinely seen employee tenure shrink? Like, are you actually seeing people move out the door quicker? And what are you doing to keep them there? So whoever wants to start.
I'll let HR start now.
Okay, I'll go. So I think engagement and retention is something that we're always going to be working on. I think at the moment that we think we have it figured out, we have to start all over again. So for us, what we did, and I think it's very similar to your servant leadership concept, is that we asked our employees who they wanted to be. And we started off with some really simple questions like, hey, what's a good day at Cisco? What's a good day? And then we moved to, hey, what's a great day? And then who do we want to be? And the coolest thing, and I'm always so proud of this, is that our employees shaped what this became. So it wasn't an HR body of work. And so we have something called the people deal. And we have tenets, Jacob, that kind of guide everything that we do. And so we basically say, hey, we want to connect everything. So we want to connect you to the best opportunities, connect you to what customers want, connect you to one another. We want to innovate. We're trying to encourage a shift where we are more comfortable taking risk and making mistakes. And so that's one of the pillars. And then we want to benefit everyone. And, Kristen, you talked about it. I think all of our employees right now want to give back and want to do really good work. And so for us, benefit everyone is how we support each other as a team, but externally as well. So what that does is, because our employees now own that, they're all working to how they create these pretty big moments for one another and how they help to retain and engage. And so what we're trying to do within HR is architect where we can, but also hand it to our employees to create the environment that they want.
Interesting.
At Jive, we have adopted, some of you know the work of Josh Bersin, and his concept of an irresistible organization. So we've said we want Jive to be an irresistible place that talent wants to come to and never leave. And so we're going after the 5 attributes of that he's laid out. We just did a survey with employees to find out how irresistible are we, and have identified those places where we can celebrate and we're amazing, and those places where we need to do some work. And it's very similar to what Kristen said, that it's the whole career and empowerment and skill development, and how do I build my career longer at Jive and be less susceptible to picking up that phone or answering that email from a recruiter. So I think it's you just have to be disciplined and determined about working it every day, because every time you think you figured it out, something changes somehow, and you got to start all over again.
I have a question for HR on that one. Sorry, I don't want to be a disruptor here, but my simplistic view on, for instance, my staff is, if I don't have their attention, if I can't get them to engage with me, if they don't like me, if they don't like what I do, and if I don't empower them, they're not going to stay. So, again, the servant leadership thing works really well because you empower them, you bring them in. It's a culture shift. And it's sometimes a very hard culture shift. If you're on this rocket ride to get to the next level, to be the bigger company, we all have to work at this. What some people that are not in senior management don't realize, for instance, I found at our company, is, well, the C-levels never talk to us. And my question to them is, have you ever spoken to them? Oh, no, they don't want to talk to me. They do. They expect that you're going to come up and talk to them. But you have this viewpoint of, oh, the big C-levels, can't talk to them. So we have to break that barrier. That's part of my job with my staff, is to break that barrier. So our C-levels are starting to have lunch with Larry, or lunch with the CFO, and everyone's like, oh my God, they're going to make me eat with the CFO. No, it's an informal conversation where they're saying, I'm human too. Our CTO this week said, but I'm Clint. I said, no, you're the CTO. He said, no, I'm Clint. I said, yeah, I know that. But everybody sees the big personality CTO, and they go, ooh. He doesn't realize that. We have to bridge that gap. I have to bridge that gap for my staff. Is this something that's in HR's purview, for instance?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say, last year, I joined Pandora last year, and one of the first things I worked on with the CEO and our executive team is looking at the principles that had been in place for the company, principles, values, for many years, and to look at them and say, these have served us really well in the last 8 years. Will they serve us well in the next 10 years? And so we looked at that. I then also took a look at HR, and we created an HR vision, which really isn't a vision for the HR function. It's got a couple of elements, but I would point out two that are really critical and touch on what you've said. One is we have a vision where we are developing humanistic leaders. And humanistic is kind of this lofty word, right? But all it means is people-centered, people who care about other people. And we have a culture where the executives are really accessible. We actually track where executives are going around the company on a Google Docs, and it's not necessarily to manage that, but just so that we know where are our executives touching our employees. And so this notion of humanistic leaders, people who care about each other, I think is really compelling for human beings. And then the other point in our vision is when you come to Pandora, you may not be here for many, 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 many years. That's okay. But while you're here, we want people to have a career-defining experience. When I think of career-defining, I think it's about doing really awesome work, feeling like you've made an impact. It means growing. It means getting to know people who will be part of your professional network for the rest of your life. Those are the things that make the experience career defining, and those I think are two notable things that sometimes companies don't think so much about.
The only thing I'd add is that we did some studies on our employee voice survey, our turnover data, our performance of our employees. We scan it over time. We try to triangulate what makes an effective leader, what gets you happy to come to work, right? That's the magic sauce. And I had a hypothesis going into that, and I was completely wrong. I thought it was your development. I thought it was your compensation. I thought it was a couple things. What I determined, what we saw, not what I determined, what the facts were in this analysis is that, especially for millennials, it popped up statistically higher, is that if I empower you to achieve a goal, outline a goal, you're highly motivated. If I hold you accountable towards that goal, your enjoyment and your engagement even goes higher. And then if I appreciate you once you achieve that goal, I hit a home run. It's very simple. And here I was spending all my time on compensation, justifying comp and development plans, and do we have a career conversation? And it's really about these big things. I want to make a difference. I want you to show me what that difference should look like. I want you to hold me accountable for that difference, and I want you to thank me along the way.
How'd you measure that?
What?
How'd you measure that? What data sources did you look at to figure that out?
All those things. So the employee voice survey, I try to look at leadership effectiveness. So I triangulated statistically the alignment between high discretionary effort, great performance of teams and self, performance ratings, aligned with engagement scores, and aligned with turnover. And then I looked at that and I said, okay, you kind of get a heat map and you kind of figure out what are those 3 or 4 things that really matter. And I'm like, bingo, I'm going to focus on this stuff because this shit matters.
I like you.
Bleep.
Bleep.
So I would just echo everything that we've heard here. I was fortunate enough 2.5 years ago when I came to NetSuite to inherit fantastic rates of retention. And we have employees at NetSuite who have been there for 17 years. Our founder is still with us. He's been there 17 years. Employee number 3 and employee number 5 are still with us. And they stay and they tell the story and they connect. And it permeates the culture for even the new people coming on. They get excited about the opportunities and about the way to create their own path in the company because we're growing so quickly. And then we recognize them for that. So we celebrate their successes, we celebrate their tenure, and it really helps us to keep these people engaged and keep them with us long term. So, we're tracking well below the industry standards right now for turnover, and I attribute a lot of that because of the tone from the top of our founder, who's still there walking the halls every day and has been there 17 years. And he tells me in our exec meetings that the thing he worries about most at night about our company when he goes to sleep is employee retention. He wants to keep the people that we have because it's a huge investment. And software companies, your biggest investment is your people.
Yeah.